I try to tell people, like, I'm not really trying to sell, I'm trying to help. And there's the difference. I'm not a salesperson, I'm a help person. You know, there's always something in it for somebody. And eventually it comes out because you were really just, you know, shooting an angle. I don't really have any angles. I'm trying to help people, and in exchange, I get paid.
I wanted to give you a breakdown of the podcast you're about to watch with Mr. Brad Lea. I don't know if you know this, but Brad Lea, over the past 3 to 5 years, has been a friend, a mentor, and a brother to me. I've learned a lot of things along the way. Brad is the man behind the curtain. He's always helping people build themselves up. He's always helping people build their business, their personal brands, their business brands. This dude is constantly behind the scenes, loving and helping people and bringing value to people. But with all that being said, here's why you definitely want to watch this episode. You're going to see Brad from a totally different set of lens. Here's what I mean by that. Let me give you a few names of people that Brad has helped along the way. Right? People like Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, Damon the Shark, Andy Elliott, Wes Watson. The list goes on and on and on. In this episode, you get to see a spiritual side of Brad that very few people have seen. You see, in this episode, Brad deeply goes into his business journey, his life journey. He talks about how developing an attitude of gratitude has changed his entire life. So I hope you enjoy this show just as much as I did. Thank you. Welcome back to the show. My name is Carlos Reyes. I'm your host, and today I have a very special guest in town, right across from me, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brad Lea. What's up, brother?
What is happening? I'm all in, brother.
I love it, bro. First and foremost, man, thank you for stopping in. Thank you for the love. Thank you for everything you do. Everything you continue to do for not only, up and coming folks like myself, but people all across the country. There's a lot of things that you do for a lot of people behind the scenes that people don't know about or see or even hear, but I'm paying attention. So thank you for everything you do for everyone, bro. Truly, really appreciate it. You're one of the biggest go-givers in the space, whatever space that is, right? Whether it's influencer space, speaker space, business space, all of the spaces. So thank you for that, right?
Well, you're welcome.
Appreciate you, brother. What brings you into town today?
A jet.
A plane. So no, well,
I'm down here to do 2 podcasts. One, all in, very rising podcast.
Thank you.
And then one with a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Minor. Apparently he's doing a live thing, so it made me fly in. Which, if you've read 48 Laws of Power, that's one of the keys. Get them to come to you. So he's already establishing dominance.
Yeah.
How do you combat that?
I don't.
You just allow it?
Yeah. When you're secure in yours, you don't have to worry about theirs. A lot of people tear people down because they're insecure and they think that that's the best way to build themselves up. And I don't subscribe to that. Like, I think building you up is probably the better move.
I've seen you build a lot of people up over the years. I've been a part of that myself, right, in my own way, and I'm very grateful. But you've been building people up, man, since, the early 2000s?
1969.
That was a good year. They say that was a great year, they say.
Great year.
Right? But I've been seeing you build others up, and I feel, by default, you've all boats rise, right? You've been building people up for many, many years. And I believe that's why you have the reputation that you have over the past, couple decades. But with that being said, right, what I want to ask you, speaking of building others up and building yourself up, is how have you, Brad Lea, been able to build and preserve a good reputation? Because we've seen a lot of people come in and skyrocket and then just nosedive, and there's nothing they can do about it. How have you been able to build and preserve a great reputation over the years. Hey, thank you for watching the show. I'll get you back to it in just a second. I just want to come on here real quick to talk about our real estate 7-figure club. It's for experienced investors, new investors, wholesalers, fix and flippers, anyone who wants to build a 7-figure business. If you want more information regarding how you can join our 7-figure club, all you got to do is click on the link below and we'll get you that information ASAP. Now back to the show.
It's a great question.
Take your time.
I would say at the end of the day, the people that you see cruise up and then nosedive, it's because they're not real. And ultimately, you know, a facade only lasts for so long. And then pretty soon people start to realize you're not real and they abandon you. So in my mind, the more authentic you are, the better off you are, because the people that come around, you know, that are seeing the real you, they don't go anywhere because they don't see any cracks in the facade. They don't see any, you know, contradictions.
Mm-hmm.
They like you because you're being you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just believe in authenticity. And I think that's why a lot of those people shoot up and then disappear, because they're shooting up based on a facade.
Well, I've also seen a lot of people, because what you've been able to build over the years.
Well, I mean, also, dude, you got to just do the right thing. You know, I mean, I don't preach do the right thing. That's what I do. So when you continuously and constantly do the right thing, you know, you end up building a solid foundation that isn't hard to crack, you know, because you're doing the right thing. I try to help people. A lot of people think, you know, I'm one of the best salespeople on earth, which I would agree, but yes, I would. But it's also because I try to tell people, like, I'm not really trying to sell, I'm trying to help. And there's the difference. I'm not a salesperson, I'm a help person. So I'm just trying to help people, you know. And when you do that, honestly, over time, you know, you build a reputation of that. You know, there's always something in it for somebody. And eventually, oh, I see what you were doing. And eventually it comes out because you were really just, you know, shooting an angle. I don't really have any angles. I'm trying to help people, and in exchange, I get paid.
You don't have to work extra hard because you're working at an angle. You're just being you, and you being you, helping people just naturally, building relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could have been
collaborate.
worth a lot more money had I taken advantage of situations that I recognize, but the situation was not a win-win. It would have enriched myself, not both parties. And I don't think anything that isn't win-win lasts.
Yeah, socially you would probably be broken there or broke there, but financially you would be very wealthy, more wealthy.
Well, I probably would have made a lot more money had I taken advantage of situations and people, but then I probably wouldn't have got that question, because at the end of the day, when you're out for yourself, you know, eventually people see that. It might take a minute, but eventually people see it. And as soon as they do, I say this, man, relationships are probably the most important thing. Some people will say, well, health is more important. And a lot of people want to argue that. Would you guys argue that? Do you think health is more important than relationships?
I think if you have a toxic relationship, your health is probably in the shitter.
Okay,
mental-
well, just
your
answer the
mental
question, Sal. Do you believe that health is more important than relationships?
I think it's a circle. It's a
So
you get it from multiple angles.
You can't give me a yes or no?
My answer is yes. I believe my health is more important. I can't even have a good, healthy relationship with anybody else if I don't have a good, healthy relationship.
Okay, so you believe your health is more important than relationships.
That's right.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. If you were told either you die, get a terminal illness, or your child does, which one are you picking?
You always got to come at me. You know, I'll definitely. I'm out. I'm saying goodbye. I would choose my child to live.
Okay, so
closed you.
Yeah.
so that relationship is more important than your health.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
As we were saying,
If you put it that way.
but a lot of people they don't understand things like this. So sometimes
Yeah.
I just shift people's perspective. You know, because
Yeah.
when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So in some cases, I'm just basically getting someone to see it a different way. Because normally people would argue health is more important, which again, for a long time I would have too, until you start to really think about it. And it's like, health is very important, and it's almost up there, which is kind of what you were beating around the bush about. But at the end of the day, Sal wants to be politically correct. He doesn't want to get caught being wrong.
I learned from literal Lee, right?
But relationships, when we're born, we require them. Otherwise, we die. If a baby is born and had no relationships, it would die. And then when we die, we desire them. That's all we care about. Nobody's saying, let me see my cars one more time. Let me see my bank account one more time. Where's my trophies? They're wanting to be surrounded by people. So when you're born, you desire them. And when you die, or when you're born, you require them. And when you die, you desire them. But in the middle, we forget how important they are. So, and coincidentally, a lot of people want to make money. Well, dude, relationships is where money comes from. Yeah. Every dollar you've ever received came from a relationship of some kind. So if you really want more money, you know what I say. More hands you shake, more money you make. Get good at building relationships.
Did you coin that yet?
I mean,
you
you can have it.
No.
Somebody can trademark it if they want.
I've heard a lot of people say that after you.
Well, again, I'm an original. I like to come up with just ways of saying it. I don't think there's anything original anymore, but like I have a saying that says, if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. People have said, I've heard that before. And it's like, yeah, I know. I've said it before. And it's made its way around to where now people hear it.
Yeah.
Because it just makes you think, like, if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice, which means you're going to sacrifice either way. So why would you sacrifice for something you don't want? Why would you pay a price for something you don't want? Because you pay a price one way or the other. You guys get that?
Yeah, it's like pick your heart, right?
I know, but it's like if I said, hey, how much are you willing to pay to be fat? You're like, I ain't paying to be fat. But are you?
Yeah.
Because if you're not paying to be in shape, well, then you're paying to be fat. So at the end of the day, why would you pay for something you don't want? So it's like, I don't want to be fat. Well, then why are you paying for it? And how am I paying for it? By not going to the gym, by not choosing the right meal. And when you boil it down to the simplest form, it's a gift we've all been given by God. Yahweh.
I think
Yahuwah.
Yeah.
We've been given a gift. It's called free will. And it's really the ability to choose. And see, that's how simple it gets. Everybody thinks there's some power within that's going to shoot out like a freaking Marvel comic hero. It's just the ability to choose. You can choose, whatever you choose, it's your choice. So at the end of the day, if you look at that as a superpower, you can choose what I call heavenly energy, or you can choose earthly energy. Now, heavenly energy is what you would think it was, kindness, generosity, courage, confidence, happiness, and then earthly is the greed, the envy, the drama, the gossip, the anger. When you get angry, have you ever been angry?
Yeah.
You chose to be angry.
Yeah.
And most people don't get that. You're choosing to have a bad day. You're choosing to be broke. You're choosing to be fat. You're choosing to be in a bad relationship. You're choosing everything that you don't like in your life. You just don't realize you're making a choice for it. You're paying a price. You're paying to be in a bad relationship. You're paying to be out of shape. And if you're going to pay, why not get what you want? It just makes no sense. But people don't realize it. See, that's the thing. They let emotions govern them. So to me, an emotion, you can't help emotions, but it's a trigger. It's a signal that there's a choice to be made. So when you find yourself getting angry, and now you see it as a signal, a trigger, you go, wait a minute, do I want to be angry? Because in some cases, no, I don't want to be angry.
Yeah.
So when someone walks in a room and says something rude and people get upset, they just chose to be upset. Well, no, Carlos walked in and said this, that, and the other thing. I can't control Carlos, but I can control me. So he could come in and say anything he wants to. If I get pissed, it's because I'm choosing to. And at the end of the day, once you realize that's the power, well, now just choose to be a good person, choose to be kind, choose to be generous. And whatever choices you make, you will be held accountable to at one point.
You remind me of a word that we have been using very often here at the office, right? Equanimity. It's a state of mental calmness, composure, and evenness of mind, especially under stress or in difficult situations. Equanimity. So it's funny that you say that, because Sal and I have been having a lot of conversations around that, right? In business, as you very well know, there's a lot of challenges. When is business ever perfect? When is life ever perfect, right? And it's not how, we can't control some of the things that come our way, but we can control how we respond and how we compose ourselves while we're in those storms. Would you agree?
100%.
Right? It's kind of everything that you're saying right now. So that's something that Sal and I have been having a lot of conversations about. A lot, as business partners, we've been business partners for 11, 12 years, and it's something that we're now beginning to understand holistically, right, in the business about, hey, just because this fire goes up doesn't mean that you and I have to also get up and get crazy, right? Like, let's deal with it composed.
That would be an event outcome mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people believe if there's an event, then there's the outcome. But they're missing what happens in the middle, which is a response. The response determines the outcome. The event does not. So there's an event, then there's a response, then there's an outcome.
Oof.
So you control the response, which means you control the outcome.
Brings me to my next question, by the way.
Before you jump onto another question, right?
ahead.
So I just wanted to say, you're talking about relationships, right? And those are the most important things for somebody of your stature. You're
He's just catching up.
yeah. You're starting to.
He's been thinking about that, sir, for 5 minutes. You
Yeah.
haven't heard a word we said, have you?
No.
We haven't allowed him to talk, and I apologize. Go ahead.
No, so for you, there's constantly people trying to build a relationship with you, right? And just like in interviews, people interview well, but then when you actually get to know them or work with them, then their flaws come out. So if you care so much about the relationships, how do you identify which ones are legit and which ones aren't? Because you're constantly being bombarded by people that want to build a relationship with you.
Yeah.
And sometimes some of them are genuine, and sometimes some of them are looking for an angle. Like, what do you do as a man to try to decipher which ones are which?
I pray for discernment, essentially. You watch somebody, they usually will tell you all that. You look at their core values, you look at how they treat people, take them to dinner, see how they treat the waiter, listen to how they talk about people, and just, use your common sense. People will reveal themselves, which is why they go up, then they go down.
Exactly.
You see someone cruising up, and they're like, man, and I used to be the guy that was like, damn, I need to be doing stuff like that, and then all of a sudden they're in jail. And it's like, see, you thought they were this, that, and the other thing, when in reality they were just scamming people. And at the end of the day, I'd rather be broke, living above a 7-Eleven in a one-bedroom apartment, working at the 7-Eleven 9 to 5, than be in jail.
Absolutely.
Yeah, freedom to me is like,
Yeah.
I prefer freedom.
You been in jail before?
Have I been in jail? Dude, I've been in jail longer than you've been in drunk. How long you been drunk?
Since 18, I've had, that's it, probably, yeah.
Yeah. No, I haven't really been in jail.
Okay.
I have went to jail a few times.
For being drunk?
Yeah. One time I was driving. This is my third DUI. This was
Jesus
back.
Christ,
This
Brad.
was
Your
back.
third one?
This was back when DUIs were misdemeanors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Where
were
was
just
this at?
they were just heavily.
What state was
They were
this?
just heavily frowned upon. Nothing really happened.
What state was this? Have you been enjoying our show? My goal is to make it one of the top rated shows in the country. So do me a huge favor. If you haven't subscribed, please do so and share the show as many times as possible. Thank you. South,
Definitely
like
not in Arizona.
Nashville.
This was in Nevada.
Nevada.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm glad I got arrested. I'm glad they pulled me over. Dude, I was driving down the street with one eye open, trying to not see double, because I was seeing two of everything. I shouldn't have been driving. It was just foolishness.
Yeah.
And thank God they pulled me over and arrested me. And I spent a little bit in jail. I think it was on a Friday or Saturday.
Oh,
so
you had
I
to wait till the judge
you had to
Monday.
wait till the judge.
They got you good.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been in a jail cell before.
Yeah.
If you haven't been in jail, dude, you probably haven't lived much.
I went. I had a similar incident back in the day when in my party days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah. Like I said, if you haven't been to jail, you probably haven't lived much.
Yeah.
I mean, not that like everybody listening, all the youngsters,
Yeah,
I need to go to jail. No,
Go to jail.
if you haven't been to jail, that's a good thing.
According to Brad Lea, the key to success is to
Go to jail.
Go to jail.
If you're the kind of person that learns only by
well,
trial and error
hey,
yourself,
listen, you can go to jail or you can go to Yale.
Yeah.
Mm.
There it is.
Got a couple questions. This is one of my favorite things that you've mentioned as a reference in the past, right? You call it the $1 million morning.
Yes.
I love when you educate about that, the $1 million morning, because people, they don't get it until you break it down the way you break it down. Can you talk to us about the $1 million morning?
Well, it's just my morning routine. I've named the $1 million morning because I realize the second I wake up that, it's more valuable than $1 million to wake up, right?
A lot of people would actually say otherwise.
No.
I'd be like, would you rather have $1 million or would you rather wake up? Some people actually never mind. Yeah, I'll let you explain that part. Yeah, see, you do it well. I don't.
Well, it's just again, that video went viral a long time ago because I was explaining to this person, if I gave you $1 million, how would you feel? They're like, oh, it would be amazing. I would feel relief. I would feel excitement. I would feel enthusiastic. I'd be so grateful. And I said, well, if I gave you $1 million, but the deal was you couldn't wake up, would you want it? He said, no, obviously not. What about 10 million? No, exactly. So how much would I have to pay you to not wake up tomorrow? They'd say, well, it's nothing. Like it's not. I would rather wake up than get paid any amount of money. Okay, well, I just use $1 million because that's what everybody used to think was all the money in the world. But if you realize that waking up is worth more than $1 million, then how come every day you wake up you don't act the same as getting $1 million? Because I mean, it really does change somebody's attitude and gratitude, money. Yeah. When in reality, life itself is the gift, right? So when I wake up, I automatically realize how valuable it is to wake up. There's nothing in the day that could happen that would be better than that, which means I wake up every single morning and realize I get another day. That's the most valuable thing that could happen throughout the entire day. So it's like, it's all downhill from there. But no, but that puts me in gratitude, and gratitude is a heavenly energy. And then I realize that, the day's going to have earthly energy surrounding me because I live here on earth, but I choose to operate in heavenly energy. We're all frequency. You realize that? Like literally and scientifically, you're just a bundle of vibrational frequencies. So you get to choose. Just like if you got in my car and you didn't like country music, you just reach over and turn the station.
I can do that as a passenger in your car?
Sure.
You'll get shot.
No, but I mean, realistically, that's how easy choosing the energy that you want to operate in. I want to operate in heavenly energy. I know that the energy that you emit determines what you get. So if you want to operate in earthly energy, then you're going to be subject to the response, which is the energy that you emit is the energy that you get. So if you're walking around angry, it's going to make you angry.
Earlier, you said something when we were driving to the coffee shop. You said, at the end of the day, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, right? we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Can you break that down for me, exactly what you mean by that?
Well, I think a lot of people think our bodies have a soul, but I think we are the soul that has a body. So we are a spiritual being having a human experience. Like, this is a gift. We are getting to experience being human. So every day you should be like really taking advantage of that, because it's not going to last forever. And, you know, it's an experience. So we are a spiritual being having a human experience, and you're going to waste it if you don't realize that.
When did you come to that realization? 'Cause I'm sure you know, that's something that people have to consciously be aware of. For some people, there's like that moment in life where it's like, life is precious and I don't want to lose it. And then they're grateful. And then you just talked about driving drunk and getting pulled over. So at some point in your life, that was either like masking something, or when did you come to that realization?
Well, I'll never forget the day. It was June 3rd, just joking. I didn't have any big, you know, pivotal moments. It's just realization over time. You'll realize one day that you trade youth for wisdom. And so eventually you get a little wiser. And then you start to realize. See, realize and learning is like, realization is more gradual. You know, 100 things had to happen for you to go, now it makes sense. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like the mind. Most people don't understand the mindset is so important with anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Your mind is the controller, right? Well, where is your mind? How much does it weigh? What's the temperature? How big is it? People realize, what do you mean? How big is your mind? What's the temperature? Can you feel it? Can you point to it? Where is the mind? Where is your mind? Is it in your head?
No.
I'm assuming it's in your brain.
No, it's just another dimension.
That's exactly what it is. It's most things that we see here is you get to see it, it gets translated, and then you get to feel it. So technically, world. It's only a filter. Your mind is only a filter.
No, your mind is the controller. Like, I think, for example, you are not your body. You are bigger than your body. You are a spiritual being, a massive being. And if you could see the facts, your mind is in your body. Well, my mind is not in my body. My mind is bigger than my body. And so I realized that the mind is the controller of the body. Your body doesn't control your mind. Your mind controls your body.
Yeah.
Go like this. Go like this. See, you're doing that. Like, it ain't just your body doing it. Yeah. Your mind's doing it. So the mind's the controller. So imagine if I walked in and I said to you, listen, I'm going to give you a massive big screen TV, all the surround sound, the headphones, everything that you can think about when it comes to video games. Okay, big old fancy couch, the whole bit, all the games, all the levels unlocked, all the tokens, all the skins, all the guns, all the cars, everything. There it is for you. And then I leave and you look around and there's no controller. What good is all that without the controller? What good is a massive room full of video games with everything unlocked if you don't have a controller?
I wouldn't even enjoy the game if I have everything in it either, because it's pointless now. There's no challenge, and if we go throughout life without any challenges, I think life would become pretty boring. But I want to highlight something.
That's a little cliche.
No,
we're going to start calling Sal cliche.
Not
Sal.
really, because I believe boredom drives humans.
Well, that's true. Without adversity, you die, actually.
Because they get bored, and boredom makes us either excel in life or do really bad things in life.
Well, not only that, adversity strengthens and grows you. So without adversity, you would be in trouble. So I do agree, but a little cliche.
Well, because I was going to ask you a question.
Hold on, though. Going back to my analogy, if you have all the games and everything, and it wouldn't be boring, I would love to have all the levels unlocked and all the skins and all the guns, and I'd just dominate and freaking crush. But without a controller, you're screwed.
Own them noobs.
No, he plays
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. Yeah.
But without a controller, dude, you're screwed. You don't. None of it's worth anything. So imagine that the game and all the levels and everything, that's your life, that's your potential. But without the controller, you're screwed. So you got to get the controller before any of that's worth anything. And the controller is your mind. The controller is your decisions. The choices that you make determine the road that you take. So the mind is the key. If there is one, it's the mind. So once you get a hold of that, well, now everything gets a lot easier. You know, you can look at something one way, or you can look at something another way. You know, I used to be pissed off I couldn't afford shoes until I met a man with no feet. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you talk to a guy with a you know, bike, he wishes he had a car. The guy with the car wishes he had a freaking jet. The guy with the jet wishes he had a family. So I mean, like, it's always you wish, just enjoy and appreciate what you have, and coincidentally more comes because you're appreciating everything. So have you ever bought a kid something and they didn't really appreciate it and made you want to take that back? So what if God is the same way? Like, you're wanting all this money, you don't appreciate the shit that you have. Why would I give you more? So you appreciate what you have, and you truly appreciate it. That's just my philosophy. But the controller is the mind. So mindset, you got to get your mindset right. Then you got to get your skills down, because a lot of people don't realize the highest paid people in the world are the ones with the best skills. So like, if you're average and you're really positive, it's possible to still suck. You know, you can positively run in the wrong direction. So the mindset's just one. Then you need the skills, which if you have the right mindset, you realize the skills are easy. You just have to practice. You know, 10,000 hours is what they consider, you know, in some cases, mastery. So if you want to be the best, you know, whatever you want to be, you know, that's just practice. And once you have the right mindset, which is an abundant growth mindset, well, then you realize it's just practice. That's why you see some kids, when they want to be athletes, you know, they'll go practice and practice and practice and practice, and they become these top athletes. That applies to anything in life. Then there's the habits. So it's mindset, skill set, habits. The habits will crush you too. If you're really positive and really talented, but you're doing cocaine every day, dude, you're going to end up in a bad spot. Yeah. So it's your habits, and habits eventually turn into mastery, and then it turns into law, right? Your habits eventually turn into law, where it just is that way. So it's really simple if you think about it. There's people out there trying to get rich, but they don't understand that, number one, they have to raise their self-worth to raise their net worth. Like right now, you guys are working for what you're getting. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you wouldn't. Well, if you're not happy with what you're getting, stop tolerating it. You know? Yeah. But people are like, what do you mean? I don't get it. I have to have money. Well, then start appreciating it, right? Appreciation. If you, like, most people don't appreciate their wife, for example, but they want her to be this perfect thing. Well, then appreciate her. And then your wife appreciates the value. See what I'm saying? It's all based on valuing what you have, and then you get to the next level.
I got a few questions about that, by the way.
Let's get controversial.
Yeah, I'll get there.
Let's get viral.
I'm already there.
By the way, you're way more spiritual than I thought.
Well, hold on. I'm going to go around the room and ask you. This is not on you. This is a outside perspective, just to confirm what I said earlier in regards to my perspective about you, right? So we're on this call, right? And I'm not going to mention the company name, right? And everybody's always pitching Brad something. You know how it is, right? How many times do we get pitched a week, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, dude, you know, you're like this, like, we want to take your brand from like this, like, aggressive sales guy to like more of a spiritual person. And I go, brother, I said, I've been watching your content for years. I've never once in my mind thought of you as this aggressive salesperson online. I think of you as a personality.
Well, the word was abrasive.
Abrasive. So, again, my feedback to him was, No, you're not. That's not my perspective. I don't know if that's their perspective to pitch you on your brand transformation, right? But that's not my perspective. So let me ask you, and then I'm going to ask you, when you think of Brad Lea, the personal brand, right? Do you think of a abrasive, aggressive salesperson, or what comes to your mind?
I don't think I've seen you sell it, and that's, you mentioned that earlier. I think you kind of show people a path. You show them a way to see your perspective, and they end up derives, or where you end up is like it derives from that. Where, hey, I need to buy something from you. They don't buy anything from you, you're just being you. Like you've been real for so long, or you've just been your authentic self. You crack jokes with people that you meet the first time. I remember last time we were at your office when we had an event. You were meeting somebody for the first time, and you're like, "Hey, what's up, lady?" Like you crack a joke right there and then, and just being yourself. I've never seen you being serious, like a serious salesperson, or abrasive or brash, or so I don't know who told him that. Whoever told you that.
He's not watching the content.
Yeah, clearly doesn't know you.
Okay, is that your perspective? So what is your?
I mean, Brad has just showed me that he's more spiritual than I thought. So I don't know. Maybe there's
Well, that's
other
right
sides I
now,
don't
though.
know.
But what's your perspective online about Brad?
Brad just he has wisdom, and he's assertive. He knows exactly what he wants, and he knows exactly what the answer is. So
there you go. So I don't know what's going on with the whole.
Would the word cool come to mind?
Cool, yeah, cool.
Of course.
Matthew McConaughey, yes.
There you go. What about you? What's your, you're very good at this kind of stuff from outside in. So what's your perspective?
Well, my perspective it didn't come from the social media aspect of it. It was from the conversations outside of social media. My first perspective from you was that it was like I saw and met you first before I really started consuming your content, because Carlos was the one that was consuming the content. I really don't consume too much. And then when I met you, I was like, okay, he's a very interesting individual, right? And then I started listening to the content, and I was like, there's no difference, right? There's no difference.
I said that earlier, by the way.
Yeah, there's no difference. I was like, okay. And then you mentioned, that's when you told him, you're like, be the content. You are the content. I was like, okay, that makes sense. But I've never seen an abrasive side, like, of you trying to force anything. It was always your perspective, said with confidence, with so much confidence that people are just almost like, yeah, he's right. They have to step back.
So what is this
abrasiveness?
Yeah, that's why I was like, I was blown away.
Is it because maybe you use a couple curse words here and there?
I was blown away when folks that consider themselves experts in branding and brand development, when they said that, I'm like, dude, that's already the wrong start. Like your perspective is completely not even close to what the brand is. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you'll.
But you're also coming from a place where you know me.
No.
Yeah.
They don't spend time with you like that.
But they know me well enough to know.
Okay.
It might be like first impression. Oh, he's this big, arrogant, abrasive guy.
Sal, would you consider? I have sales skills? Would you agree?
Yeah.
Right. Would I be completely 100% honest if I thought Brad was like this abrasive sales guy? I would not, whether I know him or not. What would I say? What would be my?
No, after you definitely would have told him that. But I don't even know what this is coming from, or what that company is, or what they said. I think they're even like the topic is not even relevant. Abrasive. You have discernment. You have wisdom. I think there's people who are smart, and there's wise people. Wise people are usually more calm, collective. Their answers just come, off the cuff, and you have more discernment about people because the wisdom kicks in. So I think that's who you are, and maybe they fail to see that, whether it's online or in person.
Or maybe they're just trying to close me.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe pretty penny. It's a pretty penny.
Pretty penny.
Anyway.
Well, I let everyone have their own opinion.
Yeah,
because there's a bunch of people in the world that seek validation from others. I mean, we're human. We want to be liked and accepted. We have a survival instinct in us that says if we're ostracated or ostracized, we won't survive.
Would you say that that's an anchor and chains to the average human being of
Certainly.
feeling the need to be validated and accepted?
100%. It's a big driving need for most people.
Mm-hmm.
I think when people seek validation from others,
Mm-hmm.
it actually hurts them
Mm.
because it stops them from saying what they think, doing what they want.
Yep.
You know, at the end of the day, if you validate yourself, you need less validation from the outside.
100%.
So the relationship with yourself is the most important one.
You know, it's amazing that you say that, because I believe that, growing up, right, I would say probably around my teenage years and even early adulthood, I used to strive to be a people pleaser. And I believe that the real root cause of that caused me a lot of pain during those years was exactly what you just said. The need to feel validated and accepted. It wasn't so much like I'm a people pleaser. No, I believe that during those years, I wanted to be validated and accepted by the people that I was trying to please, if that makes any sense.
Well, sure it does.
Right. So, and I believe that, that was, it's a very painful trait to carry as a human being. And you're right. Once you love yourself enough and you believe in yourself enough and, you're at peace and you've tamed your ego, right? You no longer really feel the need to feel accepted and validated by anyone.
And coincidentally, that's when you're most accepted and validated.
100%.
Keeping it real.
That's
Well,
when
I mean,
you can.
that's when you,
By the way, in my opinion, you got to be in you have to be in that headspace to do the kind of content that you do and that now I do, right? Because of what I've learned from you, to be the content, you can't carry that with you.
well, that's because a lot of people deep down are racist, they're chauvinist, and they're not what I like to call heavenly energy. They're earthly energy, and they don't want that revealed.
Yeah.
And so instead of doing the work to make themselves better, and like to where they finally realize that they're good people now.
Yeah.
They're not really good people, and they don't want the world to figure that out. So they spend their time trying to pretend.
It's by the way, I've seen you, let's talk a little family, right? I've seen you around your family plenty of times. I've seen you around your wife. I've seen you around your children. And I would consider, you also to be great fathers and good husbands, great fathers, great husbands. But I was going to ask you this. People that are great fathers and great husbands, right? I would consider myself in that boat. You, let's get to you. You don't feel the need to throw that on your social media every single day on purpose. What have you noticed? What have you noticed? Right? What have you noticed?
Should I?
What you don't, because the people that know you, know that you take care. You take care of your responsibilities. You protect and you provide, and it's not just financially. You protect and you provide. You provide love. You provide presence, not presence, right?
I provide both.
You provide all. You provide it
all
all.
types of presents.
I've seen how hard you go for your family. I've seen the crazy vacations that you put them on and how you offset some of the workload with, spending time with the family. But when you see an influencer purposely and intentionally make that an objective in their lives, like, ooh, my family, from the years that I've been on social now for 12 years, since 2013, right? Not on purpose. 99% of the time, what I've seen is that there's actually a deficiency and a shortcoming there in the household. What's your opinion on that when someone forces that online?
Or a perceived one. Yeah, like, again, that's just more seeking validation. Look, I'm a good dad. Well, why do you have to say it?
Exactly.
Why don't you just be it?
Oof.
So again, I mean, in order to become, you must first be. Otherwise, you just come. Okay, which ain't a bad thing. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but at the end of the day, if you want to become, you have to first be.
I love it.
So so a lot of these guys, when they're showing their cars and I don't show cars and money either, really.
No, you really don't.
Well, because again, to me, it's like, you might catch a glimpse, because it's there. But at the end of the day, like, is that your value, that you have a Ferrari? That's your value?
Yeah.
Well, I want to know how you got the Ferrari. I want to know more about, like, you. Because, dude, you got to lead, right? Leadership is key. And the first rule of leadership is to lead yourself. If you can't lead yourself, dude, how are you supposed to lead others? And like I say, because my name is Lea, you have to lead, including me. Otherwise, you're just going to get the D. You can't even spell leadership without bringing me into it.
That's right. So what you're saying is, because we see this time and time again, man, and how long have you been on social, by the way? How long have you been on socials? A long time?
I mean, you're talking about the platforms, I assume.
Yeah, like Instagram.
How
about intentionally
6-7 years?
How about intentionally building your brand? Like intentionally trying to build your brand.
5-6 years.
5-6 years. Okay. So what we all have seen over the past, I would say since 2020, since the jab, right, or the COVID, right? We're not gonna get censored here.
They stopped censoring.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh, Zuckerberg actually.
Yeah, like the results are out. Like everybody
knows. It was
knows.
a Biden thing, right?
Everybody knows that was a mistake. Everybody knows the old vax. Woo! If you got that, you better get that shit handled.
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean? If you took the vax, you need to get it handled. What
you
exactly
need to
does
get
that
shit
Detox.
out your body. It's called spike proteins.
That?
Dude, there's
Blood
all kinds of ways.
transfusions.
Well, there's all kinds of ways, but I would start Googling shit.
Remember that bodybuilder that died?
Nobody really Googles anymore. Now you better chat GPT it.
Look up the bodybuilder that died. That's filtering. It was filtering the shot out, and then he ended up still getting a heart attack or something.
Dude,
he was ripped.
Listen, you see people dying every day of this and that. Well, coincidentally, they're not going to tell you it was a vaccine. But the facts are out. Pfizer, Moderna, these people are admitting straight up it's not good for you, and it wasn't good for you, and you got suckered. So at the end of the day, everybody gets suckered. Doesn't mean anything.
Ask me if I got suckered.
You've been duped. Well, you've been suckered in life, haven't you?
Yeah, but not with this situation.
Okay, well, again, I didn't get suckered in this one either.
Oh,
Why?
See, we're talking.
I'm what you call a pure blood.
I'm what you would call a pure blood, also.
Yeah, well, again, they might have got me if they didn't make it so weird. Like they were offering cheeseburgers and fries. They were offering freaking lap dances. I literally drove by a strip club that's off the freeway in Vegas, and it said lap dance with every vaccine.
No way.
Yeah, dude, they were begging you to get it. And it was like, to me, it was like, that's weird. Like, why do they want us to have it so badly?
Yeah.
Why did they want us to have it so badly, Brad?
I don't know, and I don't care. But that told me, no, don't get it. Like, they should have made it scarier.
Like if you don't have it, the severity.
They said there was a slight chance of death. Slight chance of death. I get that every day driving my car. So at the end of the day, a slight chance of death. Like, I'd rather be unvaccinated with a slight chance of death than vaccinated with a big chance of death.
They should have came and said
they should have made it be like being uncircumcised.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I would have gotten in line to be uncircumcised.
Like,
they make that shit scary.
If you don't get this jab, 10 to 12 months from now, you're probably not going to be able to use your penis anymore.
No, but like, if you're uncircumcised,
you would probably have to get in line as quick as
possible. My wife
possible.
would have forced me to.
Dude, being uncircumcised is scary because you got to walk around with a snail dick. the old anteater. Yeah, I don't want that. So it's like I'd have jumped in line if it was uncircumcised. But
little elephant trunk.
But dude, the facts are out. There's nobody hiding it anymore. Like the results are out, dude. People are vax injured left and right, and you shouldn't have got it. And if you did, go fix it. Like get the spike proteins. There's flushes that you can do.
Yeah.
And hope you do it quick, because again, I mean, you're gonna continue to see reasons and blood clots and shit from that vaccination.
That was a world coalition. Would you agree? Like everybody kind of came together, right? From one side of the hemisphere to the other side of the hemisphere.
No, there were certain presidents and leaders that refused. Coincidentally, they were also.
They were unalived.
They were unalived.
Let me ask you this.
You can look it up.
Yeah. Speaking, now that we're getting a little controversial, do you believe that there is a group of elite people that run this world?
Of course there is.
Really?
Well, of course there is. You'd be a fool not to believe it.
Really?
Well, of course there is, dude.
Yeah,
you don't
have to tell me. I spend hours on this stuff every day. You don't have to tell me, but I would love to know your opinion.
Just use common sense, Like, is there someone that runs this company? Well, of course there is. Well, this whole world is a company. And like the United States, for example, the people are supposed to be in charge. Are we?
No,
of course not. So again, we should be like, if the United States was a business, we should be the customer, but we're the product.
Oof.
So again, I mean, to me, it's like they're not trying to keep us, free and healthy. It's a money thing. You just follow the money. So
always follow the money.
Yeah. So who's at the top with all the money? That's who's running shit. You see these riots, and then you find out people were on payroll.
Oh yeah.
But if you've got billions of dollars, it doesn't mean anything to you to throw it away. Because it's just, you have so much coming in, you can't like, it's just, of course there is.
That's like their morning shake. They throw $1 billion. Like, that's my morning shake. Go throw it.
Well, we'll do the math. You pay rioters $500 for the day, and you have 1 million of them, which there's never 1 million of them, but let's pretend there were. That's 500 million. Dude, that's nothing.
Potatoes.
Right? To these guys. And when you see a list of the richest people, that's not the richest people. The richest people aren't on that list.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, I think there's definitely a group of elite people that are pulling the strings, let's say.
Do you think they're completely out of the limelight, or are they right in our faces sometimes?
You've never heard of them.
Here's what I told my spiritual mentor earlier. Okay? I said, a lot of truth is coming to light. Information is fully at our grasp now, unbiased. Unlike the days of 9/11 and prior, we aren't easily manipulated or persuaded. I said, recent studies suggest social media has overtaken television as the primary source of news for Americans. 54% of Americans now rely on social media to get their news. And then I said, the very thing they invented and attempted to control and regulate, social media, has gone beyond their reach, and it is now working against them. The same might happen with AI in the near future. Those are the conversations we were having today at, what was it like? I think it was like 3:45 in the morning. Those are the kind of conversations I'm having at 3:45 in the morning. What do you think about that?
I think you need to.
He's on East Coast time, so
I think you need to get some
rest.
Different coffee.
Get some what?
Different coffee.
Yeah.
See, this is what happens when you don't have cigar sessions with them in the morning anymore.
You haven't, you and I stopped smoking cigars this year.
Yeah, I started doing these Zins, and for some reason, don't really like cigars as much.
Yeah.
Wow.
I also, didn't really like smelling like that. Like when I was coming down here, I would have assumed we're definitely having cigars. And I was thinking, should I just say no? Well, I'm going to smell like a cigar. But I still enjoy a cigar now and again, just not every morning like I was. Like the morning cigar with a cup of coffee was the best. But that's because I wasn't getting nicotine delivered any other way.
You made me an addict and you left. I stopped this year too, though, because you stopped. You stopped.
Well, dude,
you left him broken.
Here's an example. Okay, nicotine. You've been told it's bad for you.
Oh,
Science has proven it's good for you. You actually have nicotine receptors in your body. So why would you have receptors in your body if it wasn't supposed to be there? Well, nicotine comes from like bell peppers. There's nicotine in food. So nicotine is the delivery of the nicotine that was bad for you. And then obviously too much of anything can probably get you. But I think because I'm doing these, it's delivering the nicotine, so the craving for a cigar or the enjoyment of a cigar isn't the same.
Yeah.
Because it's just not. And so it's like, I don't really need one. Don't really want one. Don't want to stink, because they do make you stink.
When
your mouth stinks, your clothes stink. It prematurely ages your skin, which I do not want any of that.
Yeah.
It's already aging on its own fast enough. So I just choose not to. But again, if you guys would have broke one out, I probably would have. But I was debating on the way whether or not, mainly from the smell. Because I have to go somewhere else, and then people are like, can I take a picture? And then they don't say anything. Then they just go, God, he stunk. But they won't say anything. They'll just think it.
Yeah.
And, because I don't care, I don't say anything. But normally I would be like, yeah, go ahead, but I stink. Just so I know, because then it makes it better.
Oh, yeah.
It makes it better.
You're so considerate, Brad.
It makes it better when you let them know that you know.
Like, hey, I know I stink, but let's take a picture.
Yeah, can I take a picture? I'll be like, sure. I just had a cigar though. And they're like, I don't care. And then they go, and then they smell it, and it's like not the same. But if they don't think that you stink, but you stink, then people feel bad for you, and I don't want people to feel bad for me.
Okay, question for you. You went viral for one of these clips and statements. You said that you believe your wife should stay at home and raise the children and take care of the house. Yes or no?
Well, I didn't say it like that, but yeah, I believe, there's roles, and if I'm the provider, well, then she's my teammate. She should stay at home and take care of the home then. But again, if she wanted to work, let me make it clear, I would be happy to let her go to work, but not for other people, not for other men specifically.
You would hire yourself.
No, I'd put her in business. If she wants a business, I'll fund her business and help her build her business so she can feel accomplished and all that. She doesn't have to stay at home and take care of the kids. I'm lucky that she wants to. That's what she wants to do. So I just support her in what she wants. But I also probably wouldn't have chosen her if she didn't want to, because I want one that does. I don't want one that's out and about. If you don't want a haircut, stay out of the barber shop. 9 times out of 10, dude, in my mind, and I'm traditional, old school, women in general are human beings, obviously, so they can do whatever they want. But you're a human being, and you can do whatever you want. So if you don't have one that aligns with your beliefs and your core values, then just keep looking. And I say the same thing to women. Like if they want to be boss babes and, run businesses, and they don't want kids, and they don't want to be at home, and they don't want, men to control them, well, then again, like I think that's a psyop that's been going on. It's called feminism.
Feminism?
Yeah.
So you don't believe
one of the things that just went really viral of mine was a meme where I'm kissing Melissa on her neck and she's holding the babies, cooking food, and I say, imagine how much brainwashing had to take place to make people think this is a bad thing.
Oof.
That thing had at least 6-7 million views.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you got all kinds of people. Anytime you want to go viral, just post something that has opposing views. Because it's the algorithm, right? Someone says this, oh, I totally agree. Then someone says that's because you're a, beta cuck or whatever. And the next thing you know, it's back and forth, and the whole audience is sitting there arguing because you posted something that has opposing views. But that's how they go viral.
You booby trap your posts.
Well, we want it to go viral. One time I said on New Year's Eve, I said, this is going to be a killer year, and put 2024 on purpose so everyone would correct me.
Speaking of viral, right?
But just for the record,
yeah,
I'm not a chauvinist. I don't think women should stay at home. They're not worth anything. I believe there's roles in a family. Someone has to go out and make the money and produce the revenue. If my wife was a multimillionaire and she told me, hey, stay home and take care of the kids, I'd say, no. Why? Well, because I'm a man. And, I think that's a man's role, right? A woman's role, I believe, is more than likely to take care of the kids. Now, when people say, why do you think that? Well, because they've got breasts, right? They're built-in feeders.
Yeah.
The baby comes out, that's the food. That tells me that, hey, that's probably the way it should go.
Yeah, looks like you signed up for that one.
Yeah, I think a lot of
seems like the natural thing to do. Would you agree?
I do, and I think because of society and a lot of the pressures of society, they want to break up that traditional male-female role.
And it's such a huge blessing.
Not only that, it's like they wanted women working so they could tax them. If a husband's working and getting taxed, the woman's not working, there's only one person to tax. Let me get some money from that person. So let's cause them to think that they're being oppressed. When in reality, why are you being oppressed? Because you want to take care of your family. Like, to me, it's like, that's what I think my woman should do. Now, again, I don't think all women are the same, and I don't think all women should be at home barefoot in the kitchen. I don't think like that. I think women should be able to do whatever they want, and I think men should be able to do whatever they want, and I think two of them should figure out what it is they both want and see if they're a good team, right? And if you pick a woman that wants to go out and build a career and you're okay with that, good for you.
Yeah.
I'm open. Hey, I do not think women should be barefoot in the kitchen, just for the record.
Yeah.
But again, you probably, I think maybe at least give them some shoes.
Yeah. Well, thanks for making that clear. Seems like over the past, so when did Andrew Tate come on the scene hard? Was it, it was around 2020.
Yes.
Right?
Right after he emailed me.
Oh, really?
Okay, let's talk about that.
Well, he emailed me and said, love your podcast. Let's break the internet. And I'm like, I didn't know who he was because he wasn't big at the time.
Yes, 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I looked him up, and he was a 4-time kickboxing champion, which I thought was interesting. That's cool. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I could probably talk to this guy. So I responded, talk to Maria, and she'll get you booked, which, probably wasn't the wisest thing if I wanted to get him on. But then he blew up. Yeah. So when he emailed me, he was not this big, huge dude. And then like a year or two later, he was everywhere.
He was everywhere.
Yeah, and I thought, is that the same dude that emailed me?
Yeah. And
so I went and Googled or searched my inbox, and sure enough, that's who it was. And I'm like, damn, I should have freaking had him. But back then, no one really knew who he was.
Well, I feel like he changed the internet over the past couple years. When he came on the scene as this like alpha male, this like bald, ripped, shredded, you know, masculine human being, right?
Yeah.
Cigar, I mean, you name it.
Bugatti.
The cars, yeah, I mean, everything, right? I feel like right after him, everybody got in line. Like the rise of the alpha males exploded.
Well,
Have you seen that happen over the past 2 to 3 years?
I think the wannabe alphas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's an alpha male now. Everybody's an online coach. I'm not going to name a name, but there was a recent guy.
But he was also, you know, degrading women.
Who, Tate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if he's ever on my podcast, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because again, I mean, I like a lot of what he says. I agree with a lot of what he says.
Yeah, but not everything he says.
I know, but I think he was doing it out of virality, meaning he was being over the top, because you have to be a big personality to kind of really cause that polarization.
But at that point, though, you're going away from what you always say, the authenticity factor.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's really like that. I'm assuming he was saying a lot of the stuff he said about women as to be polarizing. You know,
I think
like women can't drive. You know,
that's crazy.
That's
right?
a generalization.
Yeah,
Saudi Arabia allowed it now.
Danica Patrick is a woman.
Yeah,
and she can drive her ass
she can
off.
Drive, yeah,
and I bet you she'd beat Andrew Tate's ass in a race around a track. Yeah. So women can drive, just not all women. Just like not all men can drive. You know, especially if you're Chinese. See, that's supposed to be funny.
Yeah,
that was for your virality.
Yeah,
but again, because the stereotype is, you know, Chinese people can't drive.
What if you're Chinese and a woman?
A Chinese woman really can't drive. Old Chinese woman, but see, that's just stereotypical.
Yeah,
you know, I'm sure that there's some truth to some of the stereotypes in the world. Otherwise, they wouldn't be stereotypes. But at the end of the day, you got to realize people are individuals, man. There's individuals. Like we're all individuals. We don't have the same fingerprints, you know, DNA. Like it's like everybody's an individual. So when you generalize like women are this or women are that, some women are this. I would agree. Some women are, and some men are. So there's just too many generalizations. And when he was throwing out that you know, women are this and women are that, I just don't agree with that part of it. But I also think he was trying to be a little bit polarizing.
You know how many,
which I wouldn't blame him, because, you know, it worked. Whatever he did, it worked.
It worked.
Okay, you can talk all the shit you want about Andrew Tate. Whatever he did worked. And that's why most people are pissed.
But why do I feel like Andrew Tate's stock is nowhere near what it was 1 or 2 years ago? I feel that way.
Well, because of the press, and because he's now just like a fighter. Once they're multi-millionaires, they're no longer as fierce. You know, he's made his money.
Yeah.
And I also think he starts to realize, like, you know, you better not be as brash as you were being, because you'll find out that there's more powerful people in the world.
Yeah, they picked him up.
They snatched his ass up. They put him through the ringer.
Twice, right?
Unfairly, I would say, too. But at the end of the day, you know, that calms a person down a bit. Just like the big mouth at the bar, you know, get his ass kicked a few times. He's not such a big mouth after that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, I admire a lot of what Andrew Tate did, because, again, it worked. And I don't hate people for success. And he crushed it. I said one time, this clip went viral too. I said, Andrew Tate, I don't think he's guilty of the human trafficking they're accusing him of. I think he should be in jail, though, for murder, because he murdered that algorithm. I mean, dude, he killed the game.
Yeah.
He and now everybody's trying to do what he did.
And they're all doing
They're clippers.
A lot of them are, yeah.
I get hit up all day long. You know, hey, I got clippers. They'll take your footage and they'll post it everywhere from all these different accounts.
Yeah.
Clipper.
Again, dude, that's what Andrew did, you know, and he crushed it before anyone did it.
Yeah.
Good for Andrew. And I think
and
again,
look at,
I appreciate the Tate brothers. I like them myself.
Because of what he did, what followed after him, right? Especially a lot of people in Miami, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to be muscular. I'm going to smoke cigars. I'm going to have the cars. and then, they started making millions and millions and millions of dollars online just because of that whole formula. Formula.
The question, I was actually going to ask a question kind of that encompasses this. How many people that you just said that you don't know if he is that person that, he did it because he wants to be this pulverizing, personality.
Polarizing.
Oh, polarizing.
He probably wants to be pulverizing too.
I mean, I'm assuming I took it as such because, he took over the internet and quickly too. But how many people that do that? They do it as a persona. That's not who they are. And then they do it long enough that people, talk to them and they kind of validate the lie. His people or his followers validate this lie, and then they just become this personality. How many people that in this space that have became the opposite of who they are because of this, just because of the money?
I don't know if that's possible.
I know a couple of people.
They didn't.
In our circle.
They didn't become that way. They were already that way.
Okay.
They just finally were free enough to let people.
You just hit me with something cliche earlier. This sounds cliche, Brad. Come on.
How?
So, people do change. I do believe
people
that
can change.
People do
but
change,
they
and yes, but there are some people that are weak. Maybe their ego. There's ego and there's spirit. I think that the universe lives through us, which the heavens lives through us. As that's the human experience that we're talking about. And if their ego takes charge, then the ego won, the flesh won, or the worldly, whatever he called it earlier.
And it amplifies them to
and then that takes over.
That is
it suppresses the spiritual being, and now their flesh being or their ego or their mind takes over.
I've seen that happen.
And so this gets suppressed. People. So we live in a world of duality. Jesus taught that too. There's life, there's this, and that. And to your statement earlier, we're spiritual beings, but we're also, we use the mind. So which one takes over? And that could have taken over at a certain point, and they just turned into pieces of shit.
Have you ever heard the story about there's two wolves that live inside you?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, from kids maybe back in the day.
Yeah, and there's a good wolf and there's a bad wolf.
Yeah.
And, which one ends up winning?
Well, I like to think that if you live in the worldly facade,
from the good wolf and the bad wolf, which one will outgrow the other one?
Oh, the good wolf always. The good wolf.
It's the one you feed.
It's the one
That's
you
right.
feed.
Well,
those are riddles, Sal.
Those are the one you feed.
Well, hold on, but eventually, when you die, you go. The good will continue like that. I believe that we
so there's no hell.
I'm not saying there's no hell.
Well, then why would you think you would go?
Here's a question. I mean, why do you wake up every day? Waking up you? Because if we believe in spirit, like you're a spiritual being, we're spiritual beings. What makes me wake up every day being me? That spirit. Why don't we swap spirits?
I don't know. Sounds fun.
Would you swap spirits with Sal?
I'm not saying we would. See, it's
no. Only because I like my spirit. Like I'm happy and pleased with me. So I wouldn't.
So might God be.
Yeah. Well, I know He is. You can tell His children by their fruit.
Oof.
And by the way, they say, "Thou shalt not judge." I say, I'm not judging. I'm just inspecting fruit. I'm a fruit inspector.
You look Mexican to me.
I am Mexican.
There you go.
We're good at it.
So back to that though. I think it's possible that someone becomes this false persona and then they fall in love with the result. So they change into that. Just like if you got beat up your whole life and eventually you fought back eventually. And now you're no longer going to be trampled on, because you changed. So people can change and people do change. And what's crazy is I think you need to change in order to fulfill whatever it is you're trying to fulfill, because I don't think success is waiting for people. I think success is waiting for people to become the people they need to be in order to get it. So you got to change, but some people get swayed in by that fame and that attention that they're getting, and so they technically change. But deep down, I don't think you're truly changing. I think you're just living a lie.
Because that's true.
Because if you're,
I believe that. Yes.
I mean, there's people that are deep down genuinely nice, but they're untrusting and somewhat mean because they think that they have to be in order to survive. When in reality, they're nice people. They're just been hurt.
It's a coping mechanism or survival mechanism. Yeah, absolutely.
But back to the Tate brothers. I mean, you know, I've seen clips of them where they're being, you know, nice. So when I hear the, you know, women can't drive, get in the kitchen and shut up. Just because you had my baby doesn't mean you get to tell me what to do. He's on a rant. A, it's funny. B, he knows that there's freaking people in there going, yeah, finally someone said it. When in reality, I don't know if he truly believes that. But if he gets on my podcast, or I should say when, because we chit-chat here and there, and he said next time he comes to the United States, he will get on my podcast. I'm going to ask him that.
What are you going to ask him?
I'm going to say, do you honestly believe that women are worthless? And I'll bet you he'll say no.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think deep down he's a good dude. And I think what he's trying to do was get big because he understands attention will drive the revenue, and that's what he really wanted to do. And he did a great job of it. But I'll bet you. At the
cost of what, though?
I'll just bet you deep down at the cost of nothing. I think he's, like I said, I'll bet you deep down he's a good dude.
Yeah.
And he believes in masculinity, and so do I.
Mm-hmm.
And he believes in leadership, and so do I. And he believes in discipline and stoicism, you know, and so do I.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stoicism. You familiar?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. So, like, I believe you're a man, so you need to shut the fuck up and just deal with it. Like, you know, be a man. That's where be a man comes from. Like, be a man, dude.
Yeah.
That's stoicism. You know, yeah, you're going to have pain. So what? Yeah, it's tough. So what? You know, the adversity is what builds you and strengthens you. People pray for strength, and then they curse what strengthens them. Makes no sense.
True. Rapid fire so we can wind down the show.
Well, you haven't asked anything controversial. You were writing questions for 30 minutes. Start firing off those questions.
What's going on with this Liver King thing?
Oh, yeah.
Liver King.
Yeah, what's going on with the Liver King? He just got arrested.
Good. He should have been arrested.
Over in Austin, Texas. What is going on?
Well, again, the way he went about it, you know.
What did he go about what?
Well, he threatened Joe Rogan.
Why?
Because he has a problem with Joe Rogan, apparently. So he started threatening him, and then he went to Austin to try and do some battle, and he was holding guns and showing, like, weapons and talking about bodily harm, and he's going to make him pay. I mean, dude, listen, he should have just said, hey, Joe, if you're as badass as you think you are, let's do a fight. I'd be happy to get in a ring with you. Ended it. And, like, that's that. If Joe didn't want to engage, leave it alone. But he was pressing it and pressing it and pressing it.
I don't think it's a good idea to get in the ring with Joe Rogan.
I would bet all my money on Joe Rogan.
Absolutely.
In that fight. But at the end of the day, he just kept pressing it. Now, again, he may have been doing it for attention. Well, he got it. Now, again, I don't know the Liver King, but if it was a publicity stunt, could have been. But at the end of the day, him getting arrested, people are saying, you know, he shouldn't have been arrested. You know, all he was doing was, listen, when you threaten people
and then come to the area that they live
you're showing evidence of going too far. Yeah. I do believe the law should step in.
Yeah.
And again, I guarantee you Joe's not afraid to fight the guy.
No.
But again, it's like, dude, challenge him to a fight and let it go. Like, you should have stayed wherever you were, and you should have just said it. And that's that. But at the end of the day, I think he went too far.
Well, that's the perfect example of these influencers that are on social media.
Do you even know his name?
Liver King? I saw the documentary. Honestly, I had to turn it off. The guy.
What's his name?
I don't know.
He looks like
Liver King.
That's his name? That's not his name.
No, but nobody knows him.
Okay.
He looks like a Greg.
Well,
he's the Liver King.
I was watching.
Like, dude, what's Joe Rogan's name? Joe Rogan. Okay, so again, who's being more real?
Well, that's what I was going to tell you. I was watching a documentary on Netflix about the Liver King and, you know, his claim to fame and how he unfortunately, allegedly scammed his way all the way to even now, where he lied about the
his
how he got rich,
the nutrients and right. He lied about everything. He lied about, PEDs, right? He lied about everything. And I believe that, again...
So you better watch out. Liver King's going to see this.
I don't care.
Guys, tag the Liver King.
Well, here's
Carlos, you want to fight the Liver King?
I mean, if the guy invades my space, I have no...
I would not want to fight the Liver King. Like his hands are like freaking dog paw material.
Okay.
Like, dude, he and I'll tell you right now, dude, PEDs doesn't make him look like that.
No, for sure. The guy puts in work, obviously.
He puts in work.
Right?
I guarantee you, dude, he's a strong dude.
Yeah.
And he will more than likely smack a person that doesn't fight.
Yeah.
But Joe fights.
Yeah,
so,
Joe
again,
definitely fights.
If I were Joe, I would have said, you know what, this will be fun.
Yeah.
Let's get in a ring.
First of all, I think everybody would pay to see that. They would pay to see that over what Jake Paul has been up to. You know what I mean? Fighting, like...
I want to see these guys getting bare knuckles.
Yeah.
The bare knuckle fighting, dude, that's the ultimate, like, man, if you want to be a, like, tough-ass dude. Get in the ring with no gloves and no rules. Like, that's freaking ballsy.
Van Damme kickboxer style?
Like Kimbo Slice backyard fights.
Oh, heck
like
yeah.
that.
Watch these.
Like again, mixed martial arts, dude, that's a sport. There's a ref. They'll stop it. Like, I'd get in a mixed martial artist, I'd get in an octagon because I know there's a ref and I know I'm not going to get that hurt. I might get knocked out and then it's over.
Yeah.
Dude, you get into a bare knuckle brawl where there's no freaking gloves or anything and there's just, no, dude.
Yeah,
pass.
There's two
When's
things.
the last time you've been in a fight?
Dude, it's been a long time.
The last time he went to jail. No, I'm just saying.
No, I mean, I haven't been in a million fights. I when I was a kid, I'd get in a few fights and I'd feel bad about punching him in the face, so I'd just punch him in the stomach, and it didn't work. And eventually, you had to smack him in the face to end it. And fortunately, all the fights I've ever been in, I've won because you push me to a point where I'm fighting, and dude, in my mind, like you're there to harm me, and so I'm going to.
It's a life or death situation,
dude. In my mind, I'm punching you three ways: fast, hard, and consecutively. And if you knock me out in that, then I guess I'll wake up and realize I lost. But you push me to the point of fighting, dude. I'm 220 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal. Okay, you better be ready because if you're an MMA guy though, you'll manhandle me. But then again, I miss the whole MMA thing. I wish I would have grown up MMA. Like it'd be cool to walk into a room and have the confidence that no dude in there can beat your ass. But hey, Andrew Tate went through the pain and the suffering to become a champion kickboxer, and it just must feel good to know that. But there is no MMA guy in the world that can fucking beat up a bullet. So, I mean, dude, at the end of the day, there's always someone tougher. There's always someone meaner. There's always someone more willing to pull a trigger. Like, I knew a guy that was badass. Like, he was badass. And he wasn't MMA badass. He was just barroom fighting badass. And he would take on, like, 4 dudes and not even care. I've been in bars with him where he starts fights with 4 dudes and wins.
Just for the fun of it?
Yep. 100% for the fun of it.
Wow.
And they killed him over a parking spot.
Oof.
He pulled into a parking spot and some dude said, "What the fuck? That's my parking spot." And he got out and he started being a fucking badass. Dude pulled out a gun and shot him. Dead. Well, guess what? He wasn't that tough then, was he?
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, hey, how about we all get along? Let's all just love each other. Not in that way.
Yeah.
But love each other. Be kind. And there is a time that you have to fight, unfortunately, which is unfortunate. But if you get in those situations, I think you should be prepared to. That's why, you go do a little studying, a little practice, but I'm not a big fighter.
Well, with those boots, I would second guess myself before picking a fight with you.
Yeah, they look like ass kicking boots.
Yeah, those look pretty serious.
They would do some stomping, but then again, dude, like nowadays it seems like everybody's MMA. And if you get in a fight with a guy that knows even a little bit of jujitsu,
you're done.
If you don't get lucky with the first couple punches, dude, your ass is handed to
You
you.
can rip your throat out.
They'll put you to sleep. They'll break your wrist. Like, try fighting with 2 broken wrists. You know, they'll manhandle you. You'll get them on the, you know, they'll tackle you, throw you on the ground, and next thing you know, your shoulder is fucking dislocated. And you're like trying to tap out, but there's no refs, and you're just fucked.
Just because you saw it on TV.
Yeah, so it's like, dude, how about just be respectful, you know? And then if someone pushes you to the point where, like, you're being respectful, you're a kind individual, you're not trying to fight, you're not trying to harm anybody, and you get pushed to that point, well, then, you know, it is what it is. But I think it's best to be that way.
Let me
But
ask you a question.
preparation is key. Again, I would highly advise all men at least go to the gym and get prepared in case it does happen, which I do.
Punching bag a little bit.
Yeah, I do. I just don't take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a boxing
Be
trainer
dangerous,
that you
but
do
be
or anything
kind.
like that, but
And
yeah.
when, if needed be, you get to be dangerous.
No,
in
I'll
needed times.
go. I've been doing a little jujitsu, a little boxing.
Well, I had a question for you.
Between
regarding-
boxing and jujitsu, that's really all you're going to need, other than, you know, a gun.
Yeah.
But just a little bit. Like, again, you don't see me on social media
yeah.
rolling with people.
Yeah.
You know why? Well, because, dude, listen.
Because then people are going to want to try to pick a fight.
Not only that, it's just like, you know, to me, that's just like just personal preparation, just in case.
You want to know that you can walk into a room and hold your own at the end of the day. And
Well, again, depends who you against. Because, again, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, dude,
you just got to look for the ears.
a practitioner of jiu-jitsu will fuck you up. Period.
I had a question in regards to if you are in a fight against a jiu-jitsu guy, right? And
I
like you
wouldn't
said-
be.
Well, you wouldn't be, but let's just say you unfortunately fall into a fight somehow.
And by the way, most like truly trained people, they're not out picking fights.
For sure.
Which is why
But-
Joe Rogan said,
But
hey,
like you said, hold on.
go handle the
There-
Liver
there-
King for me.
There's a way for them to grab you to the point where you can't even tap out if you wanted to, right? So let's just say that you are in a position, right? This is a serious question. You're in a
is.
position to where the jiu-jitsu guy has you, and there is nothing you can do but one thing and one thing only. There's an opening,
I know what this is going.
and that opening is for you to bite them in the nuts. Would you do it?
Depends on the consequence.
Again, he's either going
Is
to
it
put
life
you to
or
sleep-
death?
It's life or death.
No, I mean, if I'm gonna die, yeah, I'll fucking bite his whole dick off. But if I'm just gonna go to sleep, ain't
Yeah.
no nuts getting near my mouth.
Okay.
Dude, I'd rather go to sleep than
Just
freaking
take a
have a
nap.
couple of nuts in my mouth.
What if you end up biting him in the nuts and he still puts you to sleep, and then you end up taking a nap with his nuts in your mouth? Does that make it worse?
And it's all caught on camera.
Yeah, I'd make it worse. Okay, the fact that there was nuts in your mouth at all makes you lose, even if you won.
All right, I had to
Yeah,
ask
I mean,
that question.
how do you go about that story, right? It's like, hey, I was in a fight.
And why was
I
this,
bit
why
this
was
dude's
this nuts
off.
exposed anyway? Like,
I bit this dude in the nuts.
Yeah.
He let me go,
Yeah,
and then
but when it comes to like biting,
yeah,
dude, I'll bite your fucking neck.
yeah,
Like if I'm in a fight, I tell you, if I'm in a fight, I just assume you're trying to kill me.
yeah.
So if someone's fighting me, they better try to kill me because I'm going to assume that you are, and that's what's coming back at you is straight survival.
So there's going to be some nut biting.
There's going to be some fucking dude. Listen, I'm going to give it my all. Now, if that's not good enough, I guess I'll wake up and realize didn't work. But
Yeah.
guess what? You're going to get everything I got if I fight because you're pushing me to a point where I'm thinking it's straight survival. Because I'll try to get out of it. I don't care if someone goes, oh, he's a fucking puss. Dude, I'd rather be a puss that's never fought than a fucking, bully,
Yeah,
personally.
yeah,
And again, I prepared to a certain level, and I realized, dude, that's not going to save me from all these different badasses in the world.
yeah.
But normally, if you're just respectful and you be kind, you're not going to get in a fight. Which goes back to what he said. How long since you've been in a fight, dude? I haven't been in a fight probably since I was 28.
Mm.
But I've won every fight I've been in.
Mhm.
And one time, dude, I was running. They fucking caught me.
They trip your feet?
No, they wish they didn't.
Oh.
No, they fucking caught me, dude. They fucking ran, and I'm running like a motherfucker trying to escape and evade.
Yeah.
They caught me. And then fucking, now I'm thinking, dude, and all of a sudden, they wish they didn't catch me. But they weren't MMA guys either.
Yeah.
They were just back in the old days where you just fought.
Yeah.
You know, because I think you're going to kill me, dude. I'm going to come at you.
Yeah.
I'm going to come at you fast, hard, and consecutively.
Here's the last.
I'm going to hit you with so many rights, you'll think you're surrounded.
You think you're getting jumped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the last question. You know, at what age do you believe a man comes to be in his prime? What age is that? Because
prime, you'd have to define prime.
When body and wisdom come together.
Probably, I mean, it could be different for everybody, but I would say 40.
There it is. That's what I've been saying. I've been saying 40.
Yeah, because I mean, when you're younger, you think you know, but you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even the older you get and the wiser you get, you realize how much there is to learn, and you realize how much you don't know. So if you think you know everything, it's just because you're too young.
Okay, here we go. Ready? So I'm going to take you down 3 different decades in the evolution and aging of a man. What should a man, okay, what should a man that is after a wholesome life, right? Finances, health, marriage, family, relationships. What should a man be doing during his 30s to attain that? Or in an attempt to chase after that in his 30s? Because I'm going to ask you 30s, 40s, 50s.
Go to jail.
So 30s, what should a
That's
man?
in your 20s.
Oh,
Every 20-year-old and 30-year-old out there, right, that has no clue of what they should be doing during that decade, 30 to 40, what should they be doing?
In my mind?
Yep.
Well, they should have already done it by then,
Mm-hmm.
but decide what they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
They should have
Or
already.
who they want to be?
Yeah. Or what? Yeah.
No.
But I mean, between the ages of 30 and 40, you should be investing.
What does that look like? Most people in their 30s are broke.
That's because they're not investing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, to me, 20s, you should be working to get a little money.
Yep.
30s to 40s, you should be working and investing.
Mm-hmm.
40s to 50s, you should be doubling down. 50s to 60s, you should be tying the bow. 60, if you did it right, live.
Oof.
Which I'm almost to the living part.
Mm.
But I screwed off a lot, so I'm trying to catch up with the investing part.
Okay. Beautiful. Last but not least, unless you guys have some questions, I was just going to
None of these were controversial, dude. You had it all built up where you were going to ask some hard-hitting questions.
It's, you know what? You went on your own journey of explanations.
Just read the questions.
No, I couldn't really, there wasn't a lot. I mean, I could have went.
Those are the hardest questions you can come up with?
I can go relevant. I can literally
You were
ask
warning me.
Here, I'll give you an example. Yeah, I'll give you an example right here. All right, let's do this.
Now you got it.
Very simple. Yeah, you want me to go controversial? You want me to go viral? You got it. Ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Andale.
Number 1, okay. There's been a lot of commotion here in the nation where there was a lot of protesting. There was riots. There was Minnesota. There was LA. What do you think of people in America burning the American flag?
I think they should be personally.
Yeah, personal.
Well, if you believe in America, then then they should be able to do that.
Okay.
Is there
Because of
another,
their
is there
First
another,
Amendment-
is
the
there
First
another
Amendment,
view? Because you said
No, I mean realistically, dude, like, they should go to jail. Dude, listen, if you want to burn an American flag, you should be able to if you really believe in America, because it's supposed to be the land of the free. Okay, so if you want to burn a flag, It's just a freaking piece of cloth.
It's a First Amendment right.
Well, not only that, it's just a piece of cloth. It doesn't mean anything, the flag. If it meant something, when someone burnt it, you'd get your ass handed to you. Now, what do I think like a real American citizen should do when someone's burning a flag? Beat that ass and teach them a lesson.
There it is.
I think they should teach them a lesson. You know, like, dude, if you don't like this country, get the fuck out of it. How about that? Like, I don't think you should go to prison when you don't pay taxes. I think you should be ejected. Like, go live some other country.
Ejected or ejaculated?
Extradited.
Ejected. Like, I think you should be kicked out. Don't go cost taxpayers more taxes that are paying taxes. Like, kick them out of the country. Dude, you get kicked out of the country for not paying taxes and you're not allowed back here. That's a just, you know, just like rent. Don't pay your rent. What happens?
Eviction.
They don't put you in jail. They kick your ass out of the apartment. Well, the United States is I love it myself. And you know, my goal is to be the largest taxpayer in the world. I would love that. So at the end of the day, when someone's burning a flag, you know, I in my mind, you know, you should be able to. Just like if you want to protest, go ahead. But as soon as you start, you know, throwing rocks at police officers, I think those cops should slam on their fucking brakes and arrest your ass.
For sure.
With all due force.
Yeah.
You know, and if you get, you know, if the ride to jail, you show up a little bit beat up, hey, teach your ass a lesson. Like, quit doing that stupid shit. But to protest, I think we should be able to protest.
Peacefully protest.
Yeah. You know, go down there with your signs. Go down with your signs and say what you think and say what you believe. And if you want to burn a flag, like, technically you should be able to. If you believe in America, which I do. However, if like other Americans, like the citizens, the people of America, we should be offended that someone wants to burn the flag. And I think, you know, we should be able to kick their ass. But then again, when it comes to like immigration, especially speaking to, you know,
we're all
Latinos.
He's an American. No.
Well, I'm an American because I was born here.
Yeah. He was born here too.
But my, you know, grandmother, Celestina Jaramillo, okay, obviously Latino. I think there should be borders. Why? Well, because if you want in, the door's over there. Don't be sneaking into son of a bitch. Like, dude, that's why they're called illegal immigrants. Okay, so immigration, dude, they should fix immigration 100%.
Yeah.
It should not be as difficult to get into this country.
Yeah.
Okay. But I do believe that there should be borders. I believe that we shouldn't be worried so much about foreign policy, and let's worry about domestic policy. Let's fix our own schools and our own hospitals and our own roads and our own homeless and our own people, right? And then fix immigration to where anybody that wants the opportunity should be able to come. I do believe that. I don't care what race or where you're from. You should be able to come right through the front door legally, right? Sign up, you know, get your Social Security card and come on in.
To contribute to...
Yeah, to dude, listen, if we've got the best country on earth, which I think we do, we should welcome people in, right? I don't believe in keeping everybody out. I believe in law and order.
For sure.
So when you're sneaking across the border because the front door is politically sealed, well then, dude, that's your only choice. And I do feel bad for people coming in and, you know, sneaking across the border. But do I think it's okay? Nope, I do not. I think there should be a border wall, and it's not for Mexicans. It's for anyone.
For sure.
Because, you know, they just go to Mexico and come through.
Yeah.
Because of security. Just like why would you lock your home? Well, because you don't want certain people in your home, bad people. Okay, well that's why there should be walls. It's not for the Mexican dude that's trying to get his family a better way. That should be the front door so he can get his chance to build and contribute. So and I think if we let you in, you should just become a citizen if you want to be.
Yeah.
Why is it so difficult? But everybody's so worried about America being, you know, like this. Dude, Mexico's like that.
Yep. You
can't even buy frickin' beachfront property unless you're a Mexican citizen.
Facts.
No one bitches about that. Like, isn't that racist? What are you, a racist against America? Canada has their rules. You know, go to another country after a certain amount of time, you got to get the fuck out. You know, it's just like, I don't understand. Now, I do believe almost like in a global citizenship, to where if someone told me, why don't you just remove all the borders? I would go for that too. To where, like, hey, there are no borders.
Yeah.
You're welcome to go wherever you want. I think that's how it should be, actually. Like,
It's too late for that now.
I know, but wouldn't that be nice? Where
It
there
would
are
be.
no borders?
If people didn't have their animalistic,
No,
traits
dude,
and-
none of it. Listen,
because we evolved to have borders and we evolved to have.
if
like,
I were
defenses
president,
and-
I would take Mexico, and I would take Canada, and I would make it North America, and everybody's welcome. So there's no longer Mexicans and Americans and Canadians. There's Americans. We're all Americans. And then
You would stop
I would just
at
lock it.
South America.
I would just lock it down right there, and we'd be good for a while. And then I'd put borders, and then I'd get a fair immigration system, so anybody else wants to come in, they can come in, they can get their citizenship, and they can grow. Because there's plenty of room here, you know. But the best real estate is in Mexico, so I'd go take that shit. Yeah. Like,
Next question.
and not only that, dude, but like, why is it that everybody supposedly wants to come here, especially from Mexico?
Yeah.
Why?
The opportunity.
That's it.
Yeah.
So should we deny Mexicans opportunity?
No,
No.
of course not.
Let them in.
Yeah.
But orderly, controlled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you break the rules, get out.
One chance, right?
No, I think, again, I mean, if you're born here, where are they going to boot you to?
Yeah.
But like if I'm a Mexican dude and me and my wife sneak across the border and we're here 10 fucking years, and then some president gets in and wants to kick me out, dude, they should have amnesty for anyone who hasn't broken a law and isn't a bad guy.
I've been talking about reform too.
And they've been here, or if they had children here, because that makes the child American citizen. If you're a parent of an American citizen, well, then you get to stay too. Like, in other words, I don't think good people, even if they're illegal, should be kicked out just because they snuck in. I think they should get amnesty. But build the wall. Whoever's here, you got lucky. You got lucky.
Grandfathered in.
Yeah, you got lucky. And then the important thing is immigration reform, because the only reason they're sneaking in is because that door is fucking
sealed
bullshit. So we should just fix immigration, period. And it can be done.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they don't, you know, especially with the Mexican citizens. I mean, dude, they're willing to do the fucking hard work. They'll I bet you they'd pay taxes. They'd be just as contributing as somebody born here. So why wouldn't they?
In many cases, more.
In many cases, more. But because they appreciate the opportunity,
sure.
because they've seen what it's like with no opportunity.
Yep. Okay, so
Is that controversial enough for you?
No, it's good. It's a great answer. I believe it's a fair, great answer.
Last time I said if I were president, I would take Mexico and take Canada. All hell broke loose.
Yeah.
It was
By the way,
like
Trump has talked about
I said
making
it way
Canada
before him.
the 51st state or something.
Back to that, everything comes back around. I heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, to me, it's like, dude, there shouldn't be borders at all. If you ask my true opinion,
Yeah.
we're all human beings on this planet, and you should be able to go anywhere you want. There shouldn't be borders.
Yep.
There should be local governments. I don't mind local governments. Like, you cross this line, you're now in this country, okay? And you have to operate by their rules, respect their customs. I think you should do that.
Yep.
You know, period. I don't think you should cross somebody's border and then, you know, your beliefs should carry there. Why? Because they have local governments. But borders, I wish that it was possible that there were no borders. We're all here on the same planet, and I don't think you should be barred from going anywhere on this earth.
Yeah.
We're human beings. We're all one race.
Mm-hmm.
The human race.
Yeah, that's why when they say, you know, this race and that race, dude, we're all one race at the end of the day. right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so we're all human, whether you're German or whether you're Spanish or whether you're freaking Mexican. We're all human. So get rid of the borders, let people travel wherever they want, and anybody that disrespects the local traditions and customs,
gets ejected.
Boot them out. And in order to boot them out and keep them out, what are you going to need?
Borders.
Walls. So that's why I believe in the walls. Because, dude, why don't you just leave your house open?
Yeah. So people don't get in.
No, but people can come in my house. Welcome people. But at the end of the day, it's like you need borders, even though it's controversial to say that.
Yeah.
We need borders. And just like Mexico needs borders. Like they should build their own damn border, because if shit went to hell here, guess where we're all going? I'm going to Mexico. Dude, I was almost going to get my Mexican citizenship just so I could go down there and buy some real estate and whatnot. Yeah, and like they're worried about cartel. Like, dude, send our military down there.
Yeah.
We'll get shit in order. And then guess what? Mexico would probably be thriving. Matter of fact, last time I was in Cabo, dude, not even very long ago, it was getting beautiful. Nice roads, buildings, restaurants. Like, it was nice in Cabo.
Cabo ain't Mexico.
It is to me.
Like Arizona water.
Yeah, like, it's
well,
it's
there's a place in Mexico called Zacatecas.
Zacatecas,
Yeah, I'm never going there. It's based on what it's called, Zacatecas.
All right, last question.
Who's going there? I don't know.
I got to get you to the next spot. We're running out of time here.
We got plenty of time.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do. But continue.
Okay, last question. All right. So recently, you saw the commotion with Iran and Israel, right? And there's been a huge kind of division among the MAGA movement.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of the MAGA movement, which is, put America first. MAGA has the America first mindset, right?
Well, no, it's make America great again.
I get it, but the promise is America first, America first, America
I'm
first.
more a part of the MAG than the MAGA.
What's the
Just
MAGA?
make America great.
Just make America great, or keep America great. I'm more CAG. Like, I think it's great now. And again, I mean, not for everybody. Why?
Yeah.
Well, because again, I mean, depends on who you are. But America in and of itself is a country. The country didn't do anything wrong. It's the people running the country that are the freaking scumbags.
Yeah.
So the actual country itself is great. Always has been. Like, look around this great country of ours.
Well, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, a bunch of people started speaking up against, the
Israel.
the actions that Trump took this past Saturday, where, on Friday, he was like, give me 2 weeks and we'll figure out what we're going to do with Israel and Iran. And then Saturday, boom, right? 7 B-2 bombers fly from the States all the way into Iran.
Yep.
Drop 14 bombs,
Yep.
bunker busters.
Yep.
Right? And then they're out of there.
Yep.
So that was a shock and a surprise to many, and there was a lot of blowback.
Dude, that's what happened?
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
That's what happened.
Damn, dude. I was someone told me my podcast was trending in Iran.
Oh, really?
No.
Just dropping bombs.
Yeah, I thought.
Dropping bombs. Yeah.
So that's what happened.
That's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want to know?
The blowback, there's been a huge division. Like I said, it's like a 50-50. It's like, we need to stay out of there. Why did Trump do that? And some people were like, he's demonstrating strength, and, he's figuring out a way to broker peace between the two countries. What's your feedback on what happened?
Well, I don't know enough to have an opinion. I think it's foolish when people assume that they know things, so they form an opinion without any information or any real information.
For sure.
I don't have any information, dude. The media lies. So what you see on the media doesn't make it the truth, but people have what's called confirmation bias. They see something in the media they agree with, so they see this is what happened, when in reality they see something that they disagree with. The media's full of shit. Well, it's either full of shit or it isn't.
Yeah.
So you can't always believe what the media says. So, so therefore, I can't believe anything the media says.
Yeah.
Because who knows if it's true?
Yeah.
Who knows what Trump's really thinking? Have you talked to him?
Nope.
Were you in those meetings?
Nope.
Neither was I. Do you know what happened? Do you know what Iran really believes? Because Iran, again, is a country. What do the people of Iran think? Well, have you talked to the people of Iran?
Nope.
Then how do you know what they think? Because the media says they're saying death to America. Some probably are. But you got people here saying death to Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again,
You got people here saying death to America too.
exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
again, I'm the guy that, like, I stay out of shit that I can't control,
Yeah.
and I stay out of making assumptions and opinions based on hype. And I think it's all hype. I mean, I don't have enough information to give you an opinion. Now, let's say what I hear is true. Well, if from what I hear, Iran wants to get nuclear weapons and they want to use them. That can't happen. So if the truth is they're trying to make nukes and and they will use them if they get them, well, then they can't get them, because no one should be using nukes, period. Not us, not them, not Israel, not Russia. Nobody should ever use a nuke.
But why do we get to have them? Why does Israel
Well,
get to
because
have
have
them?
you seen our military?
Yeah.
That's why.
What? Break that down, because we're the baddest in the world.
Yeah,
That's true, but
that's it.
yeah. But if you were
Just like you walk into a bar and the biggest, baddest dude in there, why does he get to make the rules? Because he's the biggest, baddest motherfucker in there.
That's true. Yeah, that's America.
You want
for
your ass kicked?
you. Yeah.
Do you?
You're right.
Well,
100%.
then fucking live by his rules. And when you don't like his rules, speak up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we dominate because of our military.
Yeah.
You know, but when you really break it down, anybody with a handful of nukes can fuck up the entire planet.
For sure.
So if you take the Iranians and let's assume it's true, because I know some Iranian people, they are not freaking death to America. They're nice people, just like there's nice people everywhere. So you got to figure out whether, you know, this little regime that talks shit, the Khomeini, the Ayatollah.
Ayatollah, yeah.
Yeah, and his little regime, if they're like a bad group of actors, you know, they should take out that regime, period.
Yeah.
The main people, what do they think? Because I don't think anybody stops to really figure out who the Iranian people, what are they saying?
Yeah.
Because if they're saying death to America and the whole shebang, everybody there is just these evil people that want to blow up the world and they don't care because they want to get to heaven in their minds, then I would eliminate them all.
For sure. I mean,
Just like I would eliminate a child predator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're a child predator,
Yep.
you should be eliminated,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad at all. Like
No.
if someone could say, these are all child predators, kill them all. Oh, you're a bad guy. Nope. If you're a child predator, you should die.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on Iran and Israel and anybody else in that category. But I don't know the truth. Is Israel the bad people? I don't know. I hear that. Then I hear, no, they're the good people. They're the chosen people. Well, again, is that the truth? What's the truth? Give me the truth and I'll give you an opinion. Until I get a truth, which I don't think anyone can give me, well, then I don't have an opinion. And if I did, I would keep it to myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the truth. And I think when you speak on shit, when you don't have the truth, you're a fool.
Yeah.
So I think what we should do is mind our own business. And when it starts to affect us, then we would get involved. So do I think he should have bombed people? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, he didn't bomb anyone. He bombed the nuclear site.
Motherfucker, you don't think there was anybody around?
There was probably a few people in there.
Dude, when it comes to war, what do we do in
There hasn't been
what
no
do we do in
confirmed casualties,
Hiroshima?
so I
What did
don't
we
know.
do in Hiroshima?
That was rough.
Dude, there was a lot of innocent fucking people
Yeah,
that
that was rough.
died, and all because a couple of fucking government officials didn't like something.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think government officials should be the ones that get to decide, and then innocent women and children and men die because of it.
For sure.
You know, but that's a dream world. It doesn't work that way. There's people in charge, and when they get upset with each other, people die. And I don't have a real opinion, only because I don't know the truth.
Yeah.
Do you know the truth?
Nope.
Who knows the truth? Can someone call me and tell me what the truth is? And then I'd be happy to comment. And I would say it whether it was popular or not. Because right now, man, you hear a lot of people against Israel. A lot of people talking about Israel.
A lot of people in America.
They're the devil. They're
a lot of people in America.
They're in control of America.
Everybody's turning against them. Yes.
I know, but again, is that the truth? I don't know. Yeah. Give me the truth, and I might join that opinion.
Yeah. There's fragments of truth.
Yeah,
dude. There's fragments of truth in everything.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what is the truth? Yeah. I don't know the truth, and if I don't have the truth, I can't give a real opinion. And I say real opinion for a reason. Yeah. Because, dude, whether people like to admit it, including myself, I have influence. I've built influence.
Yeah.
I actually influence influencers.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have influence, I think you should be more responsible in your opinion. So when you run off the mouth and start talking shit about Israel, or start talking shit about Iran, or start talking shit about who's doing what, I think you have a responsibility when you have influence to get the truth first. So when people ask me, I don't really have an opinion. Why? Because I don't have the truth. And if I don't have the truth, I'm not going to comment.
Well, somebody like Candace Owens feels like she has the truth, and Tucker Carlson, and
they feel like they have
feel
the
like
truth.
They have the
well,
truth.
Again, I'll bet you $1 million.
Yeah.
They don't.
Well,
they have fragments of the truth.
They have,
perhaps.
But this was a
But if they have the truth, then they should make a comment.
They have their truth.
If
they have
it's
their truth.
Well, again, if I believed it was true,
yeah.
Even if it wasn't, if I believed it was true, I would give you an opinion. And I think that Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, they believe that they have some information that the world doesn't have, and they may. And they're standing up for it, and I applaud them for that, because you can get your career can get damaged. Your life could be in danger if you speak against the wrong people and things.
Yep.
So I applaud them for speaking up in their opinions. But again, to me, their opinions.
Yeah.
Everybody's got one, and they
all
stink.
It's perspectives.
They're like assholes. Okay.
Yeah.
Opinions are like assholes. You've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't make that one up?
Everyone's got one, and they all stink.
You didn't make that one up?
No.
Okay.
But I do agree with it.
Yeah.
Now, if I had a crystal ball and it was only possible of giving me the truth, and I saw that, these people are like it was the truth, well, then I'd speak up even if it harmed me. Because I stand on truth.
I think people are just tired.
That makes you abrasive.
I'm abrasive.
Yeah. I think people are just tired of.
Plus, people want to jump on bandwagons.
Yeah. People are just tired historically of being in the Middle East, though. Like the Iraq War, right? Weapons of mass destruction.
Which, again, has been proven. There were no weapons of mass
but that's
destruction.
Exactly
it
what
was
Sal
all about oil.
Who got us into that
And
war,
not only
right?
that, the way it goes is we go in and
who benefited from that war?
Well, again, that's what you got to look at.
We spent $3 trillion there and lost thousands of lives in Iraq. Who benefited? Well, I didn't see the oil prices drop severely.
Well, the people who benefited are the people with the
Cheneys
brothers
and the Bushes,
and the companies.
And
right.
People are tired of it.
Right. So this is called the war machine.
Yeah,
the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
It's a machine. It's business.
It's business.
Business. They need war. They need things blown up so they can go rebuild. They need, governments to collapse so they can go in and put in their operatives.
Yep.
This is all a game, and it's all a machine, and it's all business, and it's always follow the money. If you really want to know who's behind it all, just follow the money.
That's right.
Always.
Well, with that being said, gents, I appreciate you being on today, brother.
Well, I appreciate being invited on.
It's a beautiful ride.
Thank you.
Well, we shall see.
All right, we're out. See you next week.